The Book of Enoch, banished from the Bible, reveals terrifying details about the true course of human history. Today, we'll show you what Enoch really saw when he was caught up with the Lord of the worlds into the kingdom of heaven, and why the church is doing everything it can to keep this incredible knowledge from us. Who was Enoch? Even though the Holy Scriptures are extremely sparing with their information about Enoch, the short passages are sufficient to recognize one thing. The biblical figure was anything but an ordinary man. Whoever wants to learn something about the life and fate of this person will first find what he is looking for in the Old Testament. Thus, we read in the 5th chapter of the book of Genesis, Enoch was 65 years old when he begat Methuselah. After the birth of Methuselah, Enoch continued his walk with God for over 300 years, fathering sons and daughters. The total lifetime of Enoch was 365 years. However, it was by no means only the exceptionally long life that made Enoch so special, but above all, an event that is mentioned in the Old Testament only in a parenthetical subordinate clause. Enoch had gone his way with God. Then he was no more, for God had taken him up. But what was this decision of the Creator all about? How was it that Enoch was caught up to heaven without having to die? The Old Testament does not give us an answer to this question. The matter becomes somewhat more enlightening if we take a look at the New Testament in this regard. In the letter to the Hebrews, we learn, because of faith, Enoch was caught up and did not have to die. He was found no more because God had caught him up. Before the rapture, he received the testimony that he pleased God. So far, so telling. But why did the Lord of the worlds like Enoch so much that he granted him access to the divine realm? What had he done to win God's favor? Unfortunately, the official Bible offers us no further information about this. Accordingly, Enoch was listed in the New Testament only in one of the genealogies of Jesus Christ, and elsewhere warns against future false teachers. So at this point, we should put aside the common Holy Scriptures and instead take a closer look at some unbelievable passages about which the church prefers to cover in the cloak of silence. The Apocryphal Writings. Basically, the Apocrypha include those religious writings that refer to the Bible, but were not included in the official canon or were later removed from it. In the case of Enoch, we have 3 banned sources at our disposal: the Ethiopic, the Slavic, and the Hebrew Enoch. So let us look at the text one by one and find out what really led to the rapture of the biblical figure. While the individual sections of the Ethiopic Enoch book were written at different times, the roots of the oldest part probably date back to the 3rd century BC. Incidentally, the work owes its name to the fact that it has survived in its entirety only in the ancient Ethiopian language, primarily because the Ethiopian Church does not reject the book, but considers it an official part of the Bible. Divided into 5 books, we first learn that Enoch is not a simple earthling, but a prophet who, among other things, receives a vision of God's future judgment. However, the Ethiopian Enoch book is by no means limited to the eponymous person, but also gives us detailed insights into an incident that was once to spread fear and terror among the people: the fall of the angels. Thus, the servants of God are described here by no means as pure innocent beings, but as voluptuous figures who give free rein to their urges. According to this, a host of angels around the leader Semjasa decides to descend to earth to make human women their own. Overwhelmed by the female beauty, the renegade angels henceforth beget countless descendants. However, they are not peaceful hybrids of humans and heavenly messengers, but brutal giants who plunge the earth into absolute chaos. When God becomes aware of the doings of his servants, his anger is boundless, so he decides to push the fallen angels into a blazing lake of fire on the day of judgment. At that time, he wants to conjure up a devastating flood to wipe out the bloodthirsty giants. Panicked by the Creator's judgment, the angels turn to Enoch and ask the prophet to plead with God for mercy on their behalf. However, the Lord of the worlds sticks to his decision, which Enoch then delivers back to the angels. Subsequently, he is granted the great honor of ascending to heaven and admiring the divine kingdom in all its facets. Later, Enoch returns to earth once again and sees in a dream how his great-grandson Noah builds the ark and is saved from the flood. Furthermore, he receives a vision about the fate of the world and the people of Israel. After Enoch tells his son Methuselah about it, he finally ascends to the kingdom of God and never returns. The seven heavens. But what does Enoch behold when he is admitted to the biblical paradise? What wonders unfold before his eyes? Well, to find out, it is worth taking a look at the Slavonic Book of Enoch. In it, we read that the prophet is visited by two angels who then show him the heavens. For in fact, it is not just a heaven, but a divine realm, which counts a total of 7 levels. Thus, each level houses its very own inhabitants. In the first heaven, Enoch beholds the clouds and the stars. In the next, the angels who fell upon the women are waiting to receive their divine punishment. The third level is then what we would commonly call paradise. This is where the God-fearing people are taken after they die. However, to the north of this stage is also hell, where the souls of sinners are tormented. In the following realm, Enoch marvels at the sun and the moon, as well as the various gates through which the heavenly bodies pass during the year. While the sixth level is home to gigantic guardians, God is enthroned in the seventh and final heaven, alongside the most eminent angels. Once there, Enoch is given the task of writing down all that the archangel Bertil dictates to him. While the prophet learns all the hidden secrets about heaven and earth, he writes 360 books within 30 days. Afterwards, he gets the task to return to earth and to reveal the received knowledge to his sons and to hand over the copies to them. After Enoch has done this, he goes up to heaven for all eternity. Enoch the Angel. The content of the Hebrew Book of Enoch is in a similar vein, even though it differs significantly from the other two in some respects. While this writing originated only in the Middle Ages, drawing on significantly older sources, it is officially classified among the esoteric literature of Judaism. In this book, however, it is not Enoch who appears as the narrator, but Rabbi Ishmael. The latter ascends to heaven and finally stops before the gate of the seventh realm. Since Ishmael is afraid of being pushed into the depths by the servants of God, God sends the angel Metatron to protect the visitor and accompany him into the seventh heaven. There, Ishmael again sees the Merkabah, the so-called throne chariot, which is also mentioned in the vision of Ezekiel. Soon Ishmael asks Metatron for his name, and he answers he has altogether 70 names. Then the messenger of heaven reveals another important detail of his story. He was once the man Enoch, who was raptured by God and later transformed into an angel. Controversial interpretations. In view of the presented contents, a fundamental question arises. Why were the apocryphal Enoch books not included in the Holy Scriptures? After all, the biblical figure is also mentioned in the Old and New Testaments. The official Bible canon also speaks of Enoch's rapture, although it is not described in as much detail as in the Enoch books, of course. Well, in this respect, some people who have a more alternative point of view believe that the Church has banned the passages for a good reason. They contain a revolutionary knowledge that completely overturns not only our religious, but also our secular view of history. But why is that so? Because after all, also the official Bible version is not stingy with miracles and sheer unbelievable experiences. If one follows the followers of the pre-astronautics, then the Enoch book is rejected by the Church because it reveals the true figure of God and the angels. We remember the advocates of this parascientific currently are firmly convinced that the ancient people received regular visits from extraterrestrial intelligences. However, Since the ancient peoples were not able to explain the advanced technology of the aliens, they were attributed to a supernatural, or rather a divine background. Transferred to the story of Enoch, this means what the prophet interpreted as an ascension into a divine heaven was in reality nothing more than an uncanny encounter with the third kind. Say, the angels were in reality extraterrestrials, the kingdom of God their spaceship or home planet, and the Creator himself a kind of commander-in-chief of the extraterrestrial fleet. Following this, some pre-astronautics argue that we are not at all the result of a divine creation, but rather the result of a highly complex genetic experiment. Now, one could ask oneself why our extraterrestrial creators have turned away then from us, because after all, they would have given themselves in the past still openly to recognize. The corresponding circles meet this argument as follows. They have not turned their backs on us at all. They observe us since always from the Hidden One and will appear soon in order to protect humans in view of the exploitation of the planet and the innumerable wars from self-destruction. And now we're curious about your opinion. What do you think about the events described in the Enoch books? And what goes through your head in view of the interpretations of the pre-astronautics? Dig diligently into the keys and tell us below in the comments. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a subscription to never miss one of our videos again. And with that, thanks for watching. Take care and see you next time.